Hello and welcome to Across the Acres, a Beck's Hybrids podcast, where our goal is to connect, challenge, and inspire each and every one of you by interviewing others who have a story or message to share. My name is David Ringer. I am your host, joined today by Morgan Fitch, the producer engineer.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Excellent.
Good.
Excellent.
Is that a new watch?
I've had it since December.
Okay, but it's a new thing on your wrist?
I've had this since like 3 years ago.
Wow, I'm really observant. So observant.
Yes.
Well, regardless of my lack of ability to observe, I'm at least willing to observe our guest in-house today, the one and only Craig Spray. Craig, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Hey, this is a treat. I'm just thrilled that you are here. And Morgan, you're less than thrilled, or are you happy too?
Oh, I'm very happy.
Okay.
This dude's awesome.
He is. He's a legend in his own time. And
he is.
We're thrilled to have you here today. So let's get started, Craig, with just a little bit of background about you and start wherever you'd like.
Yeah.
We're open.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks, guys, for having me. Craig Spray, been with Beck's 21 years, came right out of college in May of 2002 and started in a field sales role.
So you're a Beck baby.
Yeah.
Brad Fruth.
Right.
Yep. Never worked anywhere else. Quick story on, I almost went somewhere else, but the Lord directed me here. So that was good news. But grew up on a farm just about 20 miles west of here in Clinton County. And typical upbringing, just rural central Indiana farm. Played a lot of sports, showed a lot of livestock growing up. And I went to Purdue University and had a great opportunity there to study agriculture and be involved in some things. When I was graduating in December of my senior year at Purdue, kind of a funny story, I'd actually accepted a job with another seed company, and I had signed my contract. I'd ordered my pickup truck, and I was looking for apartments in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Oh, boy.
And I was going to be opening up a brand new territory for another seed company up there. And my dad had called me, and at the time there was another district sales manager that worked for Beck's that we had gone to church with that my dad bought seed from. And he called my dad. He said, "Hey, how's Craig getting along selling seed up in Michigan?" And Dad said, "Well, he hadn't graduated yet. He goes up here in a few months." And at the time, he said, "Hey, we've got a brand new role coming down the pike. I'd like to talk to Craig about it. It's called a district sales associate. DSA. Now, again, this is 21 years ago, okay? So that role didn't even exist when I got here. But I told my dad, I said, "Hey, the deal's done. My suit is already in the back of the closet. Like, I'm not getting my suit out and interviewing anymore. Like, I'm committed to them. They're committed to me. It's a done deal." And it's one of those things, as you look back, you always realize that your folks know best.
Oh, yeah.
You maybe just don't realize it at the time. And so my dad talked me into it. He said, "Hey, just go listen to what they have to say. Don't burn a bridge. Just go listen to what they have to say." So reluctantly, I pulled the suit back out of the closet of my college apartment, and I come over and interview. And at the time, obviously, it was Lee Rulin and Tom Hooper. And I just fell in love with this place as soon as I came in the building. So you fall in love with the facilities, the culture, you meet the people, and the rest is history. So that was back when you had to interview in front of the entire leadership team. My probably third interview was in front of all 5 of the leadership team members at that time. And fast forward, was very blessed to receive an offer. Took that offer, and in the meantime, as a 22-year-old snot-nosed kid, I had to call the CEO of the other company that I had committed to and tell them that I was backing out. And so that was a really difficult conversation. I still remember where I was when I had to make that call. But the Lord provides and the Lord guides, and I just can't imagine life without Beck's being in it. So,
amen to that.
Yep.
Is the other seed company still in business?
They are.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're not going with them didn't sink the ship for them?
No,
okay.
No.
Well,
but I will say I've always had a little, I've always wanted to make sure I performed really well whenever I could be against them, whether it was selling against them or recruiting against them. I always just wanted to prove that I made the right decision, which we all know that that story turned out well, or so far it has.
Did.
But,
no question.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about family? Wife, kids?
Yeah. Married. My wife, Emily, and I met in college. Kind of a fun story. So we met as high school seniors. We went to a pledge function. We both rushed cooperative housing at Purdue. And so we met in April of our senior year. And I actually came home after that pledge function the next day, and I sat on my couch at my mom and dad's house, and I told my mom that I had met the girl I was going to marry.
Wow.
Yep. So
it doesn't hurt that she's really, really pretty.
yeah.
I mean, it was love at first sight for all the right reasons.
It really was. Yeah. Now, it took me about 2.5 years to get to that point where I could actually, we started dating, I think, my junior year, and the rest is history. But yeah, Emily, she's a stay-at-home mom that puts about 25,000 miles a year on her van. So
Yes.
she's on the go all the time.
Stay at home.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
She works super hard. She's obviously the glue that holds us together, and she is the social coordinator, chaos coordinator, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, she's super creative. She has kind of a side hustle. It's called Pixieland Ranch. So a little plug there for anybody that wants to go on socials, Instagram, Facebook, Pixieland Ranch. We have a real life unicorn. And so if you're interested
This is a true story.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm
if you're
listening.
interested in Morgan, if you want to get your picture taken with the unicorn,
Absolutely.
if you want to have a sparkle session with the unicorn,
Okay, I'm in.
If you want your birthday party at the unicorn,
Don't threaten me with a good time, okay?
You need a sparkle session,
Yeah,
bro.
exactly.
Oh.
So, yeah. So she does a great job with that. She's obviously, like I said, the creative one of our bunch. And so, yeah, has photographers that come out and take pictures with the little girls and the birthday parties and whatever. So she does a great job with that. And then we have 3 kiddos. Michaela's our oldest. She's 16, super involved with all kinds of FFA and sports. And then Keegan is our middle one. And again, sports and livestock judging and showing hogs and goats. And then Landry is our youngest. She's 11. And Landry is our dancer. And she also plays basketball and shows livestock. And the girls show horses. Keegan, he decided a couple of years ago the horses weren't for him. But yeah, so lots of things to do. No shortage of things to get done around our place.
Do you sleep, like, ever?
Man,
You don't have time to.
it
no
seems
kidding.
like, there's a lot going on.
We haven't even gotten to the fact that he farms, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to take a nap now? We can pause this.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let you
Holy moly.
quiet out here.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and I know in addition to your kids being active, they're all high achieving. And so a lot of that comes from both you and Emily. You're both very high achieving people. You set a high standard and you achieve that standard. How do you balance that?
Yeah. Well, thanks, David. We try to instill work ethic in our kids, and we've got kids that every single morning get up and do chores before school, and I guess I'm proud of that.
Absolutely.
And while in the moment it's probably not the most enjoyable thing, I think that'll pay off for them down the road. But we're not the best at everything, and so sometimes our competitive nature comes out, and we want to just win all the time and compete at a high level. But we also try to balance and give our kids perspective and give our kids the opportunity to try different things. And so if you haven't noticed, like in the world we live in today, youth sports are out of control.
Yes.
And so is everything else, right? Like
Yes.
livestock shows and whatever, all that we do is like completely out of control in terms of just the level of competition, the level of money that it takes to compete at a high level. So we try our best, but at the same time, I guess we kind of try to keep it in perspective and just work hard and
Have fun.
have fun.
They
Yep.
have a lot of fun. I know
Provide
they
some
do.
experiences for them.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Speaking of high achieving, and while you maybe weren't the greatest at it, I think Morgan needs to know what you did in college, specific to your hometown.
Yeah, we've discussed.
Okay, very good. Tell us about walking on at Purdue.
Yeah, so that was a great opportunity. My freshman year at Purdue, I got to walk on the football team and wouldn't trade it for the world. So I was a defensive back. I was a safety. Went through all the 6 a.m. workouts in February, March. Got to play in the Gold and Black scrimmage game. Just had a wonderful time. Didn't work out as I would have hoped, but regardless, it was an awesome experience. Got to know Drew Brees a little bit, and I'm just here to tell you he is every bit as good a human as what he portrays to be.
Yep.
And he's just a wonderful guy, and he treated me like I was a scholarship player, right? So he didn't treat me like I was a walk-on. Just a super guy, but great experience. You learn pretty quickly that you're not quite as tough and as good as you thought you were. But at that level, it's all about speed. And I mean, those guys are just incredible.
And you were growing up in that town, like Purdue football was just, it was the thing back then. Like I get chills thinking about all the Saturdays I used to have with like windows open at my house and I could hear the roar of the stadium from my house. Like it was just,
Yeah.
So that was awesome.
Absolutely. But the size and speed of these players, and this is 22, 3, 4 years ago, it's infinitely more now. But I mean, these are humongous people that are moving very, very fast. You get hit by one of them, it might make you want to rethink being part of the football program.
And you were doing the hitting.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was interesting. So of the entire defensive secondary, when I was there, I was the second strongest guy. Okay. So in the weight room, I was the second strongest guy. But the problem was every one of them could get to the ball 3 seconds faster than I could. So it doesn't matter at that point, how well you do in the weight room.
Right.
If you're the last one to get to the ball, it's like, okay. But I will tell a funny story. So, we're practice dummies, right? I mean, as a walk-on, you don't get a lot of high-level exposure during practice. But I was on every practice, I was on the punt block team. Okay. So I was in charge of trying to get through the line and block a punt. Well, one day in practice, I actually blocked a punt. I don't know how I got through, but I got through and I reached out my arm and that ball came off of his foot so hard, I thought my arm was going to fall off. Like for a week.
Yeah.
That thing was still buzzing and tingling for a week.
Gosh.
It was awful. But it was a great accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
There's your Al Bundy moment, right? Like the older I get, the better I was, type of thing.
Was that Travis Dortch?
It was Travis Dortch. Which actually, fun fact.
How do you remember that?
He was the field goal kicker. He beat Michigan.
He did.
I told you, I grew up watching Purdue ball and living in town.
Yeah.
So
he played in the league for a little while. He was a field goal kicker
was.
for the Bengals for a little while. But what was interesting is he won the nation's Ray Guy Award that year for the nation's top punter. Mm-hmm. He won that award that year. And I got to block one of his punts.
His punt.
Yeah, and it almost ripped my arm off. So.
Yeah. Also, go on YouTube and look up Travis Dortch celebration.
Probably not. We'll want to look that up.
There's a story there.
Let's just say he told the opposing audience that he was number one.
Oh,
So
yes.
on live TV.
So nice.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, well, we know why you came to Beck's, but 21 years later, why stay at Beck's?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I'm a pretty average guy. Like I grew up in an average household with average income and average everything, right? Average grades, average or maybe just a slightly above average athletic ability. Anyway, my whole life I've been average. And so I feel like Beck's has allowed me the opportunity to really expand and grow within an organization that cares about people. They took a farm kid that was from, 20 miles west of here, when I went to college, I had no idea I was going to be selling seed, right? I knew I liked people. I knew I was super competitive and, I had pretty decent work ethic, but I didn't know anything about seed. And so they took a chance on me and I just feel committed to them, right? Like I've had 5 roles in this organization in the 21 years that I've been here, and 4 of those 5 positions didn't exist when I got here. And so that speaks to the growth of the company, right? And so I think when you come to work every day with a positive attitude and a good work ethic, a company like this is going to find things for you to do and keep you around long term. And that's what I feel like that's what's going on here.
Absolutely.
For me.
Yeah.
It's that hard to define culture that keeps us here.
Yeah.
We want to stay here. We want to do what we can to help farmers succeed, and we just love each other. And that maybe is cliche, but I don't care because it's true.
Yeah.
So we'll just say it.
Yeah. Why not?
But speaking of job roles at Beck's, walk us through. DSA is where you started.
Yep. So District Sales Associate, which was a brand new role they were just coming out with. Actually, Craig Moore and I, who's the corn product lead, he and I started in the same week. So we started as District Sales Associates. At that time, they were wanting to bring some younger people on that could just help with some of the larger volume districts. And so Did that for about a year and then transitioned into a district sales manager and did that for about 8 years. And that was a really fun opportunity. I got to hire some really good dealers. A couple of dealers that I hired have gone on to do great things within this organization. And I learned really quickly that you are only as good as the people you choose to surround yourself with. And so I had a couple of dealers that I hired, and we cut our teeth together in the seed business. We learned together. We failed together. Morgan, I'll never forget, there's this, you're probably not old enough to remember this, but I can remember nights. Now, this was before kids, okay, so I had some time. But I can remember nights in my office making phone calls to farmers to try to talk to them about selling seed, right? Now, this was back when there was a really thick book about like that. And Morgan, you won't believe this. This is actually true. There were names in that book, okay, like 3 columns worth of names. Now, get this, okay?
Okay.
Next to the name, there were 7 numbers. Okay? Real small print.
Okay, I'm tracking.
Okay? 3 columns, names, 7 numbers behind the name.
Okay.
Real thin sheets of paper.
I don't believe you.
Yeah. You
This
know what that
makes
was
no
called?
sense.
They called it a phone book.
What?
Yeah.
Yep, it actually exists. Really, a phone book is what they called it. And I can remember actually going through the phone book, and this was back before a lot of farmers had cell phones. So I can remember going through the phone book and calling farmers that I knew at home at night, like when they were in their recliner at like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yep. Getting that phone with the 20-foot cord.
Yep.
You bet.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Walking around the corner of the kitchen.
Yeah.
I know. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When you start with a plot book and then you bring out your phone book and you go, I didn't even know that guy farmed that many acres. I'm going to call him.
Yeah.
I mean, I did that in the risk management world. Seriously, I used a plot book as my info gathering. I was out
wild.
scouting people using a book.
And now everything is literally in the palm of our hand.
No question.
Yep.
It's crazy.
It really is.
Yep. Unbelievable.
So district sales associate, district sales manager.
Yep. So then that would have been roughly 2010.
Which, by the way, I just uncovered a 2008 product guide book, and your photo is in there. There's a picture of the map of our marketing territory with all of the DSMs and DSAs, and there you are. Your hair wasn't the color it is now, but still there. So, hey, that's a win, right? You got to take that as a W. But it was amazing to look at the faces and the names in that book. It was cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
Yeah. So I can still remember the sales meeting that we had in 2003 when leadership team came down to us in the basement and said, we are going to start selling soybeans by the seed count, and we're going to sell them all treated, period. Like no untreated beans is an option. I remember that sales meeting vividly. And there was probably a dozen salespeople at the time in the company. Had some success as a salesperson. The next step then is to try to manage salespeople. David, you've been in that role as an ATL, and I really credit Tom Hooper for what he did. So I spent about 18 months as an area team leader, and I learned pretty quickly that I was not put on this earth to manage people. My passion is in selling, and I enjoy all things sales related. So we had just had our second round of employee reviews, and I had kind of expressed that I was struggling a little bit in the role. And Tom called me into his office, I don't know, a few days later, and he says, "You're not really digging this ATL thing, are you?" And I said, well, I just, it's hard for my pride to admit that I'm not digging it, but no, I'm really, it's a struggle for me. And he showed me a map of the state of Illinois, and he said, we need to hire 22 new sales reps in the northern 2/3 of Illinois in the next 2 to 3 years. And he said, we're not going to get to that goal by relying on a bunch of outside recruiting firms to do that for us. He said, what do you think about being a full-time recruiter for Beck's? And I'm like, well, nobody graduates college thinking they're going to be a recruiter, but it kind of sounds fun. Why don't we give it a shot? So I transitioned into full-time recruiting for Beck's in September of 2011 and did that role for about 8.5 years. And that was the absolute most fun I've ever had professionally. That was selling, but instead of selling a bag of corn, I was selling the company.
Nice.
And who wouldn't want to sell Beck's hybrids, right?
Amen.
So just got the opportunity to be on the tip of the spear as we opened up states like Missouri and Iowa and going out and interviewing and hiring and recruiting folks, sales folks, area team leaders, agronomists. That was just so much fun. Just had a blast doing that.
For sure.
And Morgan, I don't know if you know this or not, but I wouldn't be here had he not been in that role.
I did not know that.
We met at a fundraiser became very fast friends, and it was a 3.5-year process for us, but you got me here eventually.
Yeah.
You
David,
and the good Lord.
Yep. Timing wasn't right the first go around, but
That's right.
and that's the thing I enjoy the most. Just about you meet these people, you build relationships with them, and then you have lasting relationships, right? You become friends with those that you recruit to come on board with Beck. So it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
I will also share a story too. I remember riding with a seat advisor one day, and Scott Beck called me out of the blue. And he said, "Hey, Craig," he said, "I was just wanting you to know that I was in my morning prayer time today. I was on the road and I was driving, and I just wanted to let you know that I'm thankful that you're in the recruiting role for Beck's Hybrids." And I thought, wow, so the president of the company just called me and wanted to let me know, one, that he appreciated what I was doing, and two, that he was praying about just the job that I was doing and how important it was to the company, and that was just such a cool moment for me. So he may not even remember that, but those are the things that you latch onto and you remember being a part of this family and this organization.
Absolutely. Any idea how many recruits you brought on?
I don't know, David.
It's got to be in the hundreds.
It's well over 100. I don't know if it's 200, but I'll call it mid 100s.
You need to start keeping a tally on the side of your truck, like World War II planes,
Yeah.
We got that one.
Yep.
I will tell you that retention matters too, right? And that sounds pretty elementary, but retention matters at a whole lot of levels. And so obviously it matters for our organization and continuity of our business and things like that, but it also matters at the customer level. It matters at the dealer recruiting level. So I had a really good visit with a potential prospect in Missouri. He sells a lot of seed for a competitive brand. And his comment, after I'd shared with him my background, his comment was, "See, that's what I like about Beck's is everybody I talk to has a lot of years in with the company." And I'm like, that was kind of an aha moment for me. Mm-hmm. We all know that retention matters, but it's really important at a lot of different levels.
Especially the society we live in where change is happening so rapidly and so frequently. If we can have some semblance of stability, that matters to people.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
After the recruiting role, then what came next?
Yeah, so that started to slow down a little bit in 2018, and we were getting farther and farther west. So we were then really active in states like South Dakota and Minnesota. And at the time, we had another gentleman in Iowa that was kind of helping do a lot of recruiting up in that part of the world. That's just a long shot to get from central Indiana to South Dakota and Minnesota with any sort of effectiveness.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I was slowing down a little bit, just kind of thinking, what's that next step look like? And, I reached out to Ryan Parkin, and we had a lot of good conversations around what the next step might look like. And at that time, Tim Newcomb was the only dealer manager for the whole company. And so Tim Newcomb was waking up every day covering 900 dealers and whatever it was, 13 states at the time.
It's crazy.
And so, he wasn't able to do that justice, right? As good as Tim Newcomb is, and he is absolute gold. He's one of my mentors, one of my great friends, and I would do anything that guy asked me to do. He just wasn't able to effectively manage all that. And so we worked through just kind of what that would look like. And so to eliminate some of Tim's travel time, I took on the central region and the eastern region as dealer manager for, 2.5 years. And then about 18 months ago, we brought David Frederick on, who's also been a guest on this podcast. And so David Frederick now is our eastern region dealer manager. I'm the central region, and Tim is our western region. And man, I just love working with those guys. They are absolute gold, along with Jason Blanco and Bailey. The five of us make up the dealer management team, and we just we have a lot of fun, and we try to take care of our dealers the best we can.
You also end up with really cool merch.
Yeah,
that's a pretty nice shirt.
Yeah,
it is nice.
Morgan, you think since they've all three been guests on our podcast,
yeah, we should
I'm thinking,
maybe toss some our way.
Yeah, we're not asking.
They fall off the back of the truck or something.
Right.
Yeah,
whatever.
just oops, and our name gets on it.
Yeah, whatever. But you think about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No pressure.
No pressure.
None whatsoever.
All right.
Well, then the dealer management role, it's going to continue to evolve and change as we evolve and change.
Mm-hmm.
What else would you like to accomplish at Beck's? Is there a job that, man, I really want to make sure I do this again?
Wow.
Or do it the first time?
Yeah, boy, I don't know what that would be. I will tell you this, though. I've been around long enough to know that, there's going to be opportunities in this organization in the next 2 to 5 years that nobody at this table today has ever even thought of yet, because of the growth that we have. And, there's just going to be a lot of necessities that will require new roles and new people. So I don't know what that looks like. I just know I enjoy people. I know I'm really competitive, and so I enjoy the sales process, whether it be recruiting in my role today, recruiting competitive dealers, recruiting dealers to come to work for Beck's. I just enjoy people and being out. I'm not a great admin type guy, I'll tell you that. So the older I get, the more comfortable I am with my flaws and inabilities and the things I don't enjoy doing, and admin and details probably isn't my strong suit. But
thankfully, we have Jason and Bailey.
Yeah, Bailey she's great. She's the glue that holds us all together.
Yeah, I eavesdrop every Monday morning on your team call because I
right.
share a room with Newcomb. So
Yeah.
we get this moment where I sneak in, whenever in the middle of your meeting, and the camaraderie of the group that you formed is really important, and you can feel that you enjoy each other and that you're having a great time. And then I love it because it's always Bailey going, "Okay, now boys, let's get back to the
stay
work.
focused. Yeah.
Come on now."
I can just imagine the call with Tim and David and you, and just
Oofda.
Yeah.
It's a blast.
I bet it is.
And I try not to listen. I really do. I put my headphones on and I'm trying to do my job, but it's hard because you guys are having so much fun.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's a great group. It's been a lot of fun working with those guys.
so in your current role, what's the best day? What's it look like for you to say, "Man, today was a good day"?
Well, yeah, no doubt it's out recruiting competitive dealers. And we've been very fortunate at this company to be able to attract and recruit and hire really good competitive dealers. We need to continue to do more of that. But those are my best days, when I can interact with the ATLs, the seat advisors, and go out on recruiting visits with those folks. And then the other great day is just wrapping our arms around our existing dealers and letting them know we love them and care about them. And so David and Tim and I call those just PR visits. So we go out to dealers and just try to visit them, let them know that we're thinking about them, we care about them, ask, what are their hurdles that they're facing that we can help them solve. And so those are really good days too.
It is really important for our existing dealers to know that we really care for you. We're thankful we have you. And just because we're growing doesn't mean you don't matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's extremely important that they understand that. So it's a big part of what you do, reminding them of their value.
For sure.
Also, you are a part of New Dealer Orientation, which I get to participate in as well. And Morgan, our gift today from Craig.
Oh, yeah.
Ooey Gooey Butter Cake
Yep.
from New Dealer
Oh,
Orientation.
yeah. I'm ready.
This comes from Big Dogs, is that right?
It does. Yep.
I mean to tell you, this is a heart attack in a pan, and I love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Cup of
Oh, I
coffee
will.
with that. And yeah. So last month we would have heard from Andy that this is okay to eat as long as we then run a 5K afterwards.
Right. Right.
So if you didn't sign up for the Beck's 5K this year, do it next year. But all of that to say, we briefly mentioned you're also farming.
Yeah.
And the reason you started farming is because Dad said, "Here you go, son." Well, how did that go?
Yeah, not exactly. So farming's always been in my blood. Always had a passion for it. And in 2019, my dad was facing some pretty serious health issues. He was laying in a hospital bed on New Year's Eve with his third hip replacement. Third on the right hip. Okay, so he'd had his right hip replaced for the third time. And that was the point where we decided if a transition is going to happen, now's the time.
Yeah.
And he actually had to lay without a hip for 11 weeks. So that was interesting. Got through that. He's actually in great health now. He helps me a bunch with the farm now. But so I transitioned in fully, Emily and I did, and he transitioned out slowly. So he gave me an incredible opportunity to purchase the equipment from him over a 4 to 5 year time frame. Obviously helped me to spread out that cost and helped him from a tax standpoint as well. So started purchasing the equipment, but I'll never forget in April of 2019, I was writing my first round of cash rent checks.
Oh boy.
And beans were $8.88 that day, and they were down 25 cents that day. So $8.88 soybeans per bushel, and they were just down 25 cents that day. And I remember, David, thinking, what on earth am I doing? What am I doing? This makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm crazy.
Yeah. And so then on top of that, that was 2019 when we had all the rain and all the prevent plant and all that type of stuff. So I remember laying in bed every single night in April, every single night in May, and just listening to it rain and thinking, okay, I've taken out an operating loan, a pretty sizable one for my first real go at this. I'd farmed a little bit of ground, before that, but this is like serious. And I'm laying awake listening to it rain all month long of April and May. And that was a year I didn't put the first kernel in the ground until June 2nd. That was just a really rough year. And, the years since then have been great. Obviously, commodity markets are strong right now. There's good money to be made in farming, but you don't want to get into farming for the money, right? Because that can go away as quick as it comes. And I listen to a podcast all the time on grain markets and things like that. And they talk about in any commodity that when you're raising commodities, they always have the tendency to revert back to the cost of production. Okay, so commodities will come and go, they'll rise and they'll fall, but over time, they always revert back to the cost of production. Needless to say, there's not a lot of margin in farming year in, year out. Now, the last couple of years has been a different story, but so I love it. It's about 900 acres. It's a lot to do, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm just peanuts, but it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. My dad helps me. I've got a brother that helps me quite a bit. I've got a couple other part-time guys that help. And so, nights and weekends and take some PTO time. And, and then Beck's is good to allow me the freedom and flexibility to get done what needs to be done too. So, but it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. And I'm very thankful that, my dad gave me that opportunity. And, so it's been good.
This is an important journey that I think a lot of family farms don't quite know how to navigate. It is hard.
Yeah.
This is not an easy thing to have dad come to a son, especially if there's multiple sons involved. How do we transition? And so our encouragement to our listeners would be, one, get help, right? Mm-hmm. Ask other people who've been through this process before. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to communicate with each other. Maybe that's the one thing we as humans don't do enough of is just talk about it. Mm-hmm. This is how I feel. This is what I'm afraid of. This is what I'm nervous about. I remember distinctly you calling me in the summer of 19, and it was, David, I don't know why I did this. Mm-hmm. What am I doing? Why? What am I doing? And it was just a really good conversation around how, this is where God led you, and you knew it was the right thing to do, but that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Yeah. And that's the other thing, too, for the listening audience. This isn't going to be easy, and that's okay. Yeah. It's a journey.
Nothing worth having really ever is easy, right? And so I learned a lot of lessons those first couple of years. I will say the transition has gotten better each year with my dad and I in terms of the way we work together. That first year was rough. Nobody is their own boss for 40 some years and then becomes an employee overnight, right? And so, I had to learn that, right?
You bet.
That this was his baby, right? That I was taking over. And so, but then the other thing we learn is that the older generation sometimes doesn't enjoy change all that much.
No, I don't.
And so, it's been a little, there's been times where it's been frustrating and there's been some friction, but I'll tell you what, he does a lot for me. And, there's never been any doubt just how much he cares for me and my success. And he wants to see the farm continue to grow and prosper. And so it's been good. It's been really good. Yeah.
And through that process, the timing of where you were able to help him through his health challenges, and then your mom had some health challenges, still does.
Yeah.
So the timing of that is also God.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm fortunate enough that all three of my siblings, or myself and two siblings, live really close. And so all three of us ended up in Tippecanoe County, which is kind of random. So yeah, we're close. We can help support when we need to. And my mom just had knee surgery 3 weeks ago, and she's getting along great.
Good. And Dad can babysit.
Yeah, he's learning a new skill set. Being a nurse isn't exactly just second nature for him, but he's doing well. No. He's been real good.
Oh, absolutely. Morgan, what did I miss?
No, I think you covered everything.
Okay, Craig, anything else that you'd like to mention or say?
I do. I have a story about Craig. One of the first times I met you, we were shooting something for Extravaganza. And do you remember what you asked me when we got in a truck to go somewhere?
I do.
He looks at me and goes, "So how long have you been an intern with us?"
Oh, no.
I was like, well, I started and I've been here about 6 months as a full-time employee.
I do remember that, Morgan. I apologize. I don't know where that came from.
He has a young face.
He does, yeah.
He really does.
The
The gray beard.
gray beard
aside.
really solidifies
He
my
thought it was highlights. He didn't know.
gray's in, right?
It is totally
That's what
in
they say.
right now. Well, I did notice one other thing to mention. You've got a new bracelet on, WWJD. Tell us about that.
What would Jesus do? My youngest daughter, Landry, bought these. I don't know. She got like a pack of 4 off of Amazon or something.
You bet.
And so she gave myself and my wife and I think Keegan one. So I just wear it around. And
You bet.
yeah. So,
I have that same bracelet at home that I wore for a while when they first became a thing, which would have been, late
90s,
late
early
90s.
2000s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Right?
sounds about right.
Yeah.
And I haven't put it back on, and so I'm convicted. I need to put that back on.
The black and white was always the go-to for me.
Was
For
it?
sure.
Back in the day. Yeah.
That was the way to roll.
I don't need blue or
No.
maroon or
No.
whatever.
Yeah.
Black and white, simple.
yeah.
Go solid.
Go solid.
Oh, I would tell you, just getting back to the farming thing, one real quickly. I have been able to be successful in the farming operation because of what Beck's does for their customers. And so, whether you're listening to this podcast as a customer or dealer, or maybe somebody that plants something else or a competitive dealer, like if you just pay attention to what Beck's is telling you, you are going to be successful. Whether it's practical farm research, whether it's hybrid selection, hybrid placement, like you can't not be successful as a farmer if you're listening to what Beck's is telling you. Now I don't get it right all the time. We don't get it right as a company all the time. We're not perfect, but just some of the basics of farming and agriculture, like if you're listening to Beck's, you're going to be successful. So that's a plug.
Some of it's not conventional wisdom either. The fact that we lowered the pop on soybeans before maybe others were willing to do so, early plant on soybeans, and those types of farming practices, it might catch us off guard. We might think, what are we doing here? Why are we doing soybeans first? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But it works.
Yeah.
And we got the research to prove it.
Closing wheels on your planter.
Yes.
Plant soybeans first. Put sulfur down on corn and soybeans both. I mean, just a lot of the basics, right? Like listen to them when they send out a quick podcast on planting or not planting this week, right? Those types of things. We when to spray fungicide, when not to. Like
Maybe catch a dig episode in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Too,
our people are so good,
Shameless plug.
so
No question.
informative, and yeah.
Okay. Well, we've come to the hardest part then.
Okay.
It's time for the Fun Fast 5.
All right.
So
You have to run a 40 instead.
Oh my.
yes, and bench press, I don't know, 350.
Yeah.
No big deal.
You'll blow his shoulder out.
Oh, and Greg would do it trying too. There's no halfway in this guy. So it's going to be all or nothing. But if you're ready,
Yeah. Let's do it.
here we go. Okay. See the future or change the past.
See the future.
Passion or stability.
Passion.
Bar of soap or body wash.
Soap.
No company or bad company.
Oh. No company or bad company? Bad company.
Till the day I die.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're both wrong, but that's okay. I love you anyway. And then this is the hardest one of all. Purple grapes or green grapes.
I just had purple grapes yesterday.
Okay.
Purple, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why purple over the
They were
green?
what was in the bowl on the counter.
Oh,
So,
man, you're really a picky guy.
yeah.
Holy cow.
They were sitting out, and I grabbed a few.
Easy to
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
How about you, Morgan? Purple or green?
I like them both. Like I don't have a choice.
Okay.
If they're out,
Available.
I'm munching.
Available's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's fair enough.
Yep.
Thank you, Craig, for joining
Yes.
us.
Thank
You're
you
welcome.
very much.
This
Thank
was a
you,
treat.
guys.
Really
Yeah.
appreciate having you along. Thank you all for joining us today for our episode of Across the Acres. It's been a pleasure to have you, where our goal is to connect, challenge, and inspire each and every one of you. We ask that you share your thoughts on people and topics for future podcasts by reaching out to us at edu@beckshybrids.com. That is EDU, short for education, at beckshybrids.com. Please follow us on all social media platforms, including We Are Becks, and give us a 5-star rating and review on the podcast provider of your choice. And until next time, we will catch you across the acres.